Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center, PJTC for short. We are very delighted to have you here this evening, and whether you're celebrating with us in the room or on the Zoom, you are in the right place as we celebrate this wonderful Shabbat. Achrei Mot Kedoshim. Feels like something else is going on this Shabbat, too. Wait a minute. Our good friend Juliet, we're celebrating her becoming Bat Mitzvah, and so she's going to be leading a bunch of the service tonight. Are you giving the sermon tonight or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, I'll do it tonight then. I should have prepared something.
He's teasing.
So we're very excited that she is going to be fully taking on her adult Jewish responsibilities by helping us to lead the service, teach Torah, and guide us through this wonderful weekend. And we're really especially grateful to your family for sharing this wonderful milestone and this wonderful simcha with us here at PJTC. But like I said, we're also celebrating this wonderful day of Shabbat. And Shabbat, this day of rest, is so special to the Jewish people. We imagine that when the sun goes down and Shabbat comes upon us, that it's as if angels enter our space, and we welcome those angels. We ask them to give us their blessing, and then we see them on their way. But before we sing a song about that, a couple of PSAs, a couple of public synagogue announcements. First off, you will notice this is a musical congregation. There's going to be a lot of singing that goes on here. And I'm here to let you know, if you haven't been here before, or even if you have, we're not here to sing. Juliet is not here to sing instead of you. She's here to sing with you. So the more you can participate in the singing, even if you don't like the sound of your voice, I swear we love it. Even if you want a percussive instrument, we have these wonderful wooden pews to tap on, these prayer books. We have transliterated prayer books back there. Any way in which you share your voice is going to be a gift to God and a gift to this family and this congregation. So please sing along in whatever ways you are comfortable, and even a few ways that you're not comfortable. And the other thing I want to share with you is that through the magic, the miracle, the science that is live streaming, every single moment of this service is captured. This is incredibly liberating. It means that all the wonderful stuff that's happening, you may feel like, oh, I got to take a picture of that, or it didn't happen, or I got to take a picture of that, or I'm going to forget something. No, we've got you covered. So put your devices away, put them on silent, put them on quiet, leave them in the car if you can tomorrow morning, and just enjoy the moment. Be fully present for this, because that's what Shabbat is all about. And with that, we are going to welcome the angels that join us for Shabbat with a song called Shalom Aleichem that Juliet will lead us in, and you can find it on page 13. Page 13.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachurni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedek Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So I make that announcement about singing with us every single time we do this, and nobody has ever taken me that seriously by Shalom Aleichem. That sounded wonderful. So this is going to be a really wonderful service tonight. Thank you. The next thing we're going to do is recognize that even as we increase the sound in this space, we also increase the light in our hearts and in our homes and in our sanctuary. And we have these beautiful Shabbat candles that are lit over here, but they haven't had a blessing said over them yet. And so I would like to invite up Monica Levine, Juliette Levine, Elise Levine, and Renee Dernberg, who are going to say the blessing for the Shabbat lights.
אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להקריב של שבת.
אמן, שבת שלום.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Well done. We're now entering the part of the service called Kabbalat Shabbat, or welcoming or receiving the spirit of Shabbat. And many, many years ago, the mystics of a place called Tzfat said, we can't just jump into our regular statutory evening prayers on a special night like Shabbat. We need to build up to it. We might have come from a week that could use some getting out of, if you know what I mean. If we might be down in the schmutz, but we can begin to ascend into the holiness of Shabbat by means of songs and psalms and poems, starting with the psalm that appears on page 15, and begins with Lechu Neranena.
Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu,
Nekama Chana Betoda.
Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu,
Izmiro Naria Lo.
Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Ladonai. כי הגדול אדוני ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים. אשר לא ים ולא עשה ראש. ארבעים שנה עקוד ודור ואומר עם טועה לבבם והם לא ידעו דרכי אשר נשבעתי ואפי אם יבואון אל מנוחתי.
Page 16.
Adonaï, Shir Chadash, Shiru
Adonai kol haaretz shiru l'Adonai bachru shemo basru miyom le'yom Yeshuato safru b'goyim kevod vodo b'chol ha'amim Miflotav gadol Adonai Umulam me'od Norahu Al kol Elohim
So in addition to the Psalms from our poet King David, the mystics of Sfat gave us some newer tunes. They're merely 500 years old, which is like a recent hit in Jewish liturgy. There's this song where they wanted to welcome in Shabbat, and they imagined that Shabbat was at once like a visiting dignitary, like a queen. That's a big deal when the queen comes to town, because the queen is normally so far away and so out of reach. But Shabbat is also, they imagined, imminently close to us. And we could welcome Shabbat like when one might stand under the huppah and see one's beloved walking down the aisle. And so they refer to Shabbat both as a queen and as a bride. And to each of these aspects of Shabbat they say, "Come, my beloved, Lacha Dodi." We're on Lacha Dodi on page 22, page 22.
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Lekabela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Lekabela
לא תבושי ולא תקרבי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תהני. בך יחסו ענייה לימי, ונבנתה עירתי לה.
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Lekabela Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Lekabela
והיו למשיסה שעשיים ורחקו כל נבלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס חתן הקלה
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Lekabela לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי. על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה.
Please rise.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
בואי ושלום, עטרת מעלה, גם בשמחה וצולה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת
Please remain standing just one moment longer. There's a custom that those who are leaving Shiva wait until this moment to re-enter the congregation. And for the bereaved of Ruthie Brief, the Lindstone and Mukherjee and Michelson families we've been very proud to see this community show up for them all week in Shiva, and now they are rejoining us here in their beloved community. And we give them our traditional greeting. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'tok shar avalei Tzion b'Yerushalayim. May the ever-present one comfort you as the one comforts all among our people who are in mourning. You may be seated. We have one more prayer in this welcoming of Shabbat part of our service. I would like to call up Cameron Lane, who's going to lead us in a psalm for Shabbat on page 23. Page 23. Is this responsive, or are we going to take turns?
Okay.
So this is a responsive reading. We're going to take turns, and Cameron's going to lead us.
It is good to acclaim Adonai, to sing your praise, exalted God.
To affirm your love each morning and your faithfulness each night, to the music of the lute and the melody of the harp.
Your works, Adonai, make me glad. I sing with joy of your creation.
How vast your works, Adonai. Your designs are beyond our grasp.
The thoughtless cannot comprehend, the foolish cannot fathom this.
And they flourish, springing up like grass. But their doom is sealed, for you are supreme forever.
Your enemies, Adonai, your enemies shall perish. All the wicked shall crumble.
But me you have greatly exalted. I am anointed with fragrant oil. I have seen the downfall of my foes. I have heard the despair of my attackers.
The righteous shall flourish like the pop tree. They shall grow like tall a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they will thrive in the courts of our God.
They shall bear fruit even in old age. They shall be ever fresh and fragrant to proclaim Adonai is just, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Yashkok, very well done, Cameron. And now we're going to close this part of the service with a song based on that psalm as well on page 23, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov Lehodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov Lehodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon.
להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון מכינון.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון.
כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך, במעשה ידיך ארנן.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון.
מה גלו מעשיך אדוני, ועולם קומך שמותיך. מה גלו מעשיך אדוני, ועולם קומך שמותיך.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון,
ולזמר לשמך העליון.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. If you're just joining us, you are tuned into PJTC, Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. We're so glad to have you here to celebrate not only this Shabbat with us, but also this wonderful simcha, this wonderful occasion of our good friend Juliet becoming bat mitzvah. And once again, I want to thank their parents and their whole families for sharing this important simcha with the PJTC community. And I have to tell you, if you are ready for a really good sermon, you should come tomorrow at 9:30, because that's when our service begins, and Juliet is going to teach some amazing Torah to you from Parashat Kedoshim. For right now, I want to share just a few thoughts about Acharei Mot. This is one of these joint parashiot. We have Acharei Mot, Kedoshim, parsha so nice they named it twice. And I'm going to need your help, though. And it's okay. I think you can handle this. my teacher, Rabbi Brad Artson, taught me, gave me the first inkling of this concept that Judaism is an embodied religion, right? We don't just think things with our heads. We don't even simply feel things in our hearts, although we do feel things in our hearts. We do things with our bodies. We stand, we sit, we bow, sometimes with a deep knee bend. We have all sorts of prayer articles that we put on our bodies. And so tonight, I want you to help me teach this lesson from Achremot using your bodies. And really, to start with, all you need is a hand. If you don't have one, God bless you, and just use your imagination. But if you do, I want you to take just one hand, and I want you to make a fist. Okay? And if it doesn't hurt too much, I want you to squeeze that fist just as hard as you can, tighter and tighter, like you're putting everything this week that you're glad to be out of into that hand. Boy, I'm so glad there's Shabbat. I'm taking the whole schmutzy week. I'm taking that phone call from my boss. I'm taking that oops, that time that guy cut me off in traffic. I'm putting that hand, I'm squeezing it. And then when I count down from 3, you're going to let it go. You're just going to squeeze everything this week that bothered you, and you're just going to 3, 2, 1. How does that feel? Feels like my hand hurts, Rabbi. Thank you very much for that. And this is just a sample. You could do this with your whole body. In fact, if you have a special occasion that you're really nervous about, let's say you're going to be singing in a foreign language or giving a speech in front of a room full of people, for example, or if your child is going to be doing one of these things and you're really nervous and you've only got like one line, but what you could do, this is something I learned a long time ago, when you're nervous about something, you can actually tense up your entire body. And if anybody wants to try this, you tense up your entire body. Squeeze every muscle together. Just squeeze it up. Kids, thank you for playing along. So you squeeze your entire body. And then you let go. And how does that feel? Take it from me, it feels amazing. So you should try this if you get nervous, but you've been practicing very well. There's a paradox in this week's Parsha. There's something in our culture, there's a value, there's a Jewish value that you could describe this way: the more you need to let go of, the harder you have to squeeze. The more you need to let go of, the harder you have to squeeze. Can anybody tell me what Jewish value this is? There's a Hebrew word for it. Most Jewish values, there's a Hebrew word for it. It's like Steve Martin says, those French have a word for everything. The word is mechila, forgiveness. The more you have to let go of, sometimes the harder you have to squeeze. The harder work you have to do. And ironically, the harder you work on it, the better you feel when you just let that burden go. The Parsha Achremot means after death, or the name Achremot means after the death. It's an after what death are we talking about here? The death of Nadav and Avihu. It's actually a couple of parshas back. These two guys, on their first day of work as priests, made an error. And God felt compelled to make an example of them, and they died. And so we open this parsha that says, Acharemot, after the death of Nadav and Avihu, starting with perhaps God's most unforgiving moment in the entire Torah. But in this parsha, God teaches the ultimate lesson in forgiveness. This is why I like Rabbi Artson's conception of God as a God that learns, as a God that changes and grows, a God that has regrets, and the God that is improving just like we are. We know God has regret because God invented the rainbow, almost wiped out the entire planet, and said, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. So every time it rains, I'm going to put a bow in the sky to remind me to check my anger. And gosh, I got so mad at those two guys. It was the first day of services. This is a midrash. I like to think God said maybe I took it a bit too far. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to forgive everybody, everything, every single year. And we're going to call it Yom Kippur. And here's how it's going to go. And then we describe in Acharei Mot the service of Yom Kippur. You think it's weird now. Back then, the service of Yom Kippur went a little something like this. Okay, Aaron, you need to take 2 goats, and you're going to draw straws, right? And you're going to take one of these goats, because, don't worry, something bad is going to happen to each of these goats. This is, sacrificial cult after all. Where you take one of these goats, and that goat is going to be sacrificed, because it's a Jewish holiday, and that's what they did back then. But the other goat, you were going to take all the sins of the people, just hold that in, the high priest is going to hold that in their intention, every single sin of the Jewish people, and put the hands on the head of that goat and transfer everything that they did into this goat. And you're going to send it off into the wilderness. And that is how you have a clean slate for the rest of the year. Right? To take everything anybody did wrong the whole year. And God knows. But God can forgive all of it. All you have to do is put it in one place and then do what? Hold on to it? Burn it? No. What do? You let it go. That is how a whole people can be forgiven every single year. But Maimonides would say, not all the sins. That's just the sins between people and God. Maimonides says the sins between people and other people, God won't forgive those until you do. Until you burn it? No. Until you destroy it? No. Until you hold on to it? No. Until you let it go. I make it sound so easy, don't I? But it's necessary. It's hard, but it's necessary. Our legends say that this world we're in right now is not the first world that God created. In this version of the world, God actually created tshuva, atonement, and mechila, forgiveness, before God created people. Why? Because before that, God created a world without tshuva and without mechila, and guess what? It destroyed itself. And so that's why we take this hard thing, and it's hard, but it's necessary. And I'll make it even harder. Who's the hardest person to forgive sometimes? Yourself. So tonight, I want you to hold in your intention. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if the holy source of our blessing, can forgive every single sin of every single person, every single year, can I do one tonight? Can I squeeze really hard and then let that burden go? Can I take one thing that I'm upset about and put it in this hand? If you feel like it, give it a try. One thing that you just wish you weren't mad about anymore. And squeeze. And remember, when you forgive somebody, you're not saying that what they did was okay. All you're doing is freeing yourself from that resentment. And you can squeeze, and you can squeeze, and you can squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Doesn't that feel better? Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining us here at PJTC. We are going to continue our service with our call to blessing, the Baruch Hu. I invite you to rise in all the ways you are able. Join us on page 28 as Juliet leads us in the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Amborach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Umavir Yom Umeivi Laila Umavdil Ben Yom Uven Laila Adonai Tzavaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamidim Lo Chaleinu Leolam Vaed Baruch Adonai
Baruch Hu
Baruch
Baruch
Shemo.
Shemo.
Hama'avir Hama'ariv Ravim.
Amen. You may be seated. We move from blessing God for illuminating our lives to blessing the constancy of God's love. Avat Olam on page 29. Page 29.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו ושוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
You continue at your own pace in the middle of page 30, and we'll all get back together in just a moment. We continue together at the top of page 31. Page 31.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו לכם ציצית, כנפי בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תהלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריכם, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
We're on page 32, page 32.
We continue together in the middle of the page.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה.
מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקר הים לפני משה. זה אלי, זה אלי, ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדר אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מעט חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
גא ישראל.
Amen. I'd like to call up Benjamin Dernberg, who is going to be leading us in the Hashkivenu on page 33. Page 33.
Help us, Adonai, to lie down peace and awaken us again, our sovereign to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace, guide us with your good counsel, save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going, grant us life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praised are you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Amen. Yashikoach. And now we have a song inspired by this prayer on the facing page 33.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu
Malkeinu lechaim.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Ushmor tzedkenu, uvoenu, lechaim ushalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim. Shalom, 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 shalom,
ברוך אתה אדוני,
Baruch Shemo.
הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ועל ירושלים.
Amen. Continue on page 34. Page 34.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Shabbos la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat
השבת
Shabbos.
לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעים שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתקדע ויתקדש שמי רבה
Amen.
בעלמא דיברה קירותי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביום איכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קרים ויאמרו
Amen.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולם מעלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרמן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה
Rehu.
לעילם מן קורבנך בשירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירה בעלמא ויאמרו
Amen. We rise for the silent Amidah for Shabbat evening on page 35b. This is a personal prayer. Take your time. Lean on the words of the tradition or share the words of your heart with the Holy One. When you're finished with your personal prayer, you may be seated and we'll all get back together in just a little while.
רצון, אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני, צורי וגואלי, אמן. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, אמן, אמן. Together. עושה שלום, שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. ועל כל יושבי תבל.
We conclude this prayer with the Kaddish Shalem on page 48. Page 48.
יתקבל ויתקדש שמר רבה.
Amen.
ואלמד דברי חירות וימליך מלכותה וחייכונו ומכונו חי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב וימרו.
Amen. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעולמי עלמיה. יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשה.
בריחו.
לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם ילמה וימרו.
אמן.
תתגבר צלותנו ואותנו לכל ישראל קודם אהובון דבשמיא וימרו.
אמן.
יהי שלום הרב משמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו
Amen. At this time, I would like to invite up Michelle Harding and Melissa Gurman, who are going to be opening the Ark for Aleinu. Everyone else, I invite you to turn to page 51, page 51 for Aleinu. The world we want to see is our responsibility. It's on us or Aleinu.
Please rise.
Rise as the Ark is open.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל,
לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. שלא תשמע ועושה הרס. על כן נקבל לך אדוני אלוהים נרות ורב תפארת עוזר. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמיה תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב את תורתך אדוני ימלוך
לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד. Please remain standing while the ark is being closed. The ark is closed. You may be seated. Even as we gather in moments of simcha, moments of joy like this, we also have room for kavod, and we feel the absence of those who are no longer with us. This week at PJTC, as a community, we're marking the yard site, and that's the anniversaries of the passing of Goldie Ehrenstein, Esther Barnett, Herbert Berkman, Arthur Bernath, Saul Bobrow, Jack Boris, Morris Isaac Brenner, Hamilton Brewert, Ralph Barati, Eleanor Butnick, Nathan Cantor, Julia Elbogen, Zelda Epstein, Louis Garbowitz, Benjamin Glassman, Hetty Grunfeld, Betty Harris, Joseph Jacob Hassman, Merle Jacobs, Seymour Murray Jaffe, Esther Cloder, David Label, David Mendel, Janice Miller, Mendel Miller, Nathan Miner, Mary Moldovsky, Bessie Natus, Motaram Nadar, Samuel Nimitz, Yona Nissen, Samuel Lewis Pace, Max Parton, Robert Pierce, Sidney Rosenthal, Abe Salem, Violet Schaefer, Sarah Siegel, Bessie Shapiro, Abraham Siegel, William Siegel, Elsie Slifkin, Linda Sue Cohen, Gary Taylor, Louis Werner, and Annie Wiskind. If you have another name that you'd like to lift up in honor at this time, I ask you to hold that name in your heart or say it out loud wherever you are. And if you're in mourning for anyone or marking a yard site, please rise as we say the Kaddish Tome together on page 52, the Mourner's Kaddish. Let's pray together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Balma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mivarach le'olam olalmei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You may be seated as we move from kavod back to simcha, and we have several. First we've got to count something, right? It's the. Leah, let's go ahead and do it now. It's the Omer season. We are literally counting the days from leaving Egypt till receiving the Torah at Sinai. There's 50 of those, and so what was today?
Like, you mean the one that we started yesterday? 22.
So
it's actually written down.
Oh, it's written there. Okay, excellent. It was for their benefit.
I prepared.
So join us on page 55, if you will.
לשם ייחוד קודש בריחו ושכינתי הנני מוכן ומזומן לקיים מצוות עשה לשם ייחוד קודש בריחו ושכינתי הנני מוכנה ומזומנת לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר של ספירת העומר של ספירת העומר של ספירת העומר שבע שבתות תמימות תהיינה שבע שבתות תמימות תהיינה ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר על ספירת העומר על ספירת העומר על ספירת העומר היום 23 יום שהם 3 שבועות ו2 ימים לעומר.
Today is 23 days. That's 3 weeks and 2 days of the Omer.
Well done.
You may have noticed I was asking Cantor Ruth, okay, before we count tonight what was yesterday, there's this old custom that when you count the Omer, you're not supposed to say the number of what you're counting until you're in the counting of it, until that mitzvah happens. And so people, when they want to know, they will ask what's yesterday. And I remember that by an old story I heard about Reuven and Shimon. And Reuven was inviting Shimon over. He says, did you have any place to go for second night Seder? Because that's when we start counting the Omer. You have any place to go for second night Seder? And Shimon says, as a matter of fact, I don't. And Reuven says, well, why don't you come over to my house? And Shimon says, well, what are you having? And Reuven says, well, last night was brisket. Thank you. So I would like to invite up some wonderful people who have some wonderful guests for our wonderful bat mitzvah, beginning with a presentation from the USY presented by one Jared Levine.
Jared? This is what you give her. Get close to the mic and face her.
All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom, Juliet. Happy birthday. I'm Jared, for all of you that don't know. I'm assuming most of you do, though. I'm Juliet's brother, so I've known you your whole life. And since I was very young, I was always asking for a sister, and I was blessed when I was 3.5 to have a beautiful sister. We've moved all over the world. You have taken your Judaism all over the world. We were in Chabad in our neighbor's house in Shanghai. We then moved to Chabad on Walnut, I think it is, here. And now we are here. We've been here for a long time. I'm here to present the Bechol Achad on behalf of the USY board, for which it translates to in one voice. It's a songbook full of sloach and ruach. Sloach is meant to be sort of slower songs, more sweet songs. And Ruach is more energy, more fun. I know you go to Camp Ramah every year, as do I. And you experience Judaism every summer. And I think this could be great. USY regional events are very similar to camp. And you could go there, use this book. I'm sure you will have fun. Mazel tov. I know you're going to do great tomorrow. You've done great so far today. Yasher kolach.
Well done. It is now my great honor to invite up Sondra Dreschner, who has a presentation on behalf of the PJTC Sisterhood.
First, you have to give me a hug. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Mazal Tov, Juliet. On behalf of the Sisterhood, I would like to present you with your very own Kiddush cup that you can use with your family every Shabbat. It has been a privilege to be your Hebrew tutor this past year. You took it seriously, and it was fun to have sessions with you, and you always tried your best. I have always enjoyed our tutoring because I looked forward to the newest painting or sketch that you were working on, and it was nice to see how it developed and to see the final product. I know you will shine and be amazing tomorrow, just as you were this evening. I hope you will continue to be an active member, as your brother said, in all areas of the temple. In fact, I might even recruit you for another Torah reading with a beautiful voice. So Mazal Tov to you and your family.
Thank you.
Kol hakavod, Sondra. And last but not least, I would like to invite up Jack Singer, who has a presentation on behalf of our men's club.
We're doing a little rearranging up here, and I think we're going to get your dad involved.
It's okay, he doesn't know it yet. Get close to the microphone. Whoa. Great. Okay, close to the mic.
Okay, hi, Julia.
Hi.
Congratulations on reaching this momentous time in your life. I'm sure you're excited about this, and it looks like you're having a really good time. So, as coincidence would have it, my wife and I were sitting at the same table at the pop-up restaurant as your mom and dad. And we had an opportunity to learn a little bit about you. But just observing you, we could see that you're very conscientious, you're polite, and you work well with other people. So, in addition to that, they didn't tell us that you spoke Mandarin fluently, that you play the saxophone, and that you're also on your school tennis team. Yeah. So that's quite a few accomplishments. So I'm sure that you've applied yourself and put in a lot of time and effort into becoming bat mitzvah, and you'll do a great job tomorrow at services. So on behalf of the Men's Club, I am honored to present you with this yad. And I hope that it will remind you of this special time for the rest of your life. So mazel tov to you, and mazel tov to your family, and yasher koach.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll give you a shake. I will give you a hug too.
All right, in just a moment, we are going to conclude the formal part of this service so that our bat mitzvah can get to bed early, and I insist you get to bed early, and everybody else can have some cookies, but first we're going to make Kiddush. But before that, we are going to close this service the way we began it, and that is with beautiful, beautiful song. Only this time I'm going to ask you to rise if you're able, and please join us in song, and then join us back there for Kiddush. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu
ve'al kulam.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam.
Salam Shalom.
Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos, everybody.
We will join right now in the back for Kiddush.
If you're able to join us next week, we're having a wonderful taste of PJTC Shabbat. And Shabbat morning service is led by Kitavav.
Please grab a Kiddush cup. Let's get together and grab some Kiddush cups so we can bless Kiddush.
Our friend
I'm
Juliet.
missing Juliet.
Whoever is mobbing Juliet, please release her so she can come lead Kiddush with us.
I'm missing Juliet. Where is
I
she?
did tell her to go to bed. I don't.
It's not a joke. I am actually
Come
missing.
on, come on,
Oh, there
come
you
on.
are.
No, you get the big cup tonight.
Juliet, take this Kiddush cup. Whenever you have two, one for later. Are we ready?
ויבוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ, וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי, מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישפוט ביום השביעי, מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות.
Together. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא
כי הוא
יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים.
Amen.
צ'ינצ'י.
Oh, pardon me. All right, we have a lot of people here and only one cup, so I'll just be thinking about all of you while I do this.
We take a moment for נטילת
Those at
ידיים.
home who wish to wash, wash as you wish. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Amen. Juliet, I'm going to ask you to lift up. No, just this. We need to see the challah. Okay, that's better. Together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המוציא לחם מן הארץ בטעם.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Come on in.
Good Shabbos, everybody, and Mazel Tov to the Levine family.